Welcome to the show. We've got a great episode for you here. It's something everyone's discussing and talking about that's sort of taking over our lives and changing the game as we know it. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you get notifications whenever we drop a new episode, and like the videos and the episodes so we know what you enjoy and we can bring you more of that. So, I've been in discussions with a lot of my friends in the PR, marketing, advertising world, and everybody's sort of getting ready for their trip to France, which is an annual event where everybody goes to Cannes, or cans, as some people call it, and drink too much rosé to even remember the countless dinner parties, restaurants, yachts, conferences, events, meetups, etc., etc. So, what's the topic for today? AI is changing shopping, but will consumers buy in? Okay, let's take a look. Caroline Bennett remembers flipping through a yellow telephone book in the 1980s to find carpet stores and workers who refinished wood to help renovate her home. Not to date myself, I was also a fan of the Yellow Pages back in the day. Today, the 67-year-old uses a chatbot to help her shop. How times have changed. Bennett has turned to ChatGPT, which she refers to as chat, to find vendors for kitchen renovation project. Compare heat pumps and weigh in on whether she should buy a convection oven. The San Francisco resident could have browsed websites on Google, but she prefers using ChatGPT to save time. She says, and I quote, "Any product that has multiple features that you want to compare across different products, I think it's super helpful." The rising popularity of artificial intelligence-powered chatbots that can generate text and images is already changing the way people brainstorm ideas, write, and research. Tech companies and payment services are also betting that AI will transform how people shop. They're even experimenting with AI agents that can place orders on a customer's behalf without their permission. So, Google, Amazon, and other major tech platforms envision a future where online shopping becomes even more personalized and proactive. But companies will also have to convince consumers to buy into the idea, ensuring them that they're protecting their privacy and providing accurate results. Right, how do you know they're not just showing you this particular product when there are other options? AI chatbots have spewed out incorrect or nonsensical information before. It's definitely happened to me. I've used Claude from Anthropic, Gemini from Google, Copilot from Microsoft, ChatGPT, and others, where sometimes the system will spew out a quote, and then when you actually do your own research, you'll find out that that person doesn't actually exist. So you've got to be careful before handing stuff in. I believe there was a case not too long ago where a lawyer used AI for a court hearing, only for the judge to ask him, "Are you sure you went to law school? Because this is not actual law. Where did you pass your bar exam?" I guess the AI went to school for him. So you've got to be very careful. So, not only do they sometimes spew out incorrect or nonsensical information, shoppers, might be reluctant to give control to AI agents, especially when it comes to handing them, your credit card, information some retail experts said. So there's a lot of concern about the reliability of these kinds of tools, said Rachel Wolf, a retail and e-commerce analyst at eMarketer. I know her very well. I spent many years at eMarketer, a great research company. So you might not want to trust these agents fully to make decisions on your behalf. Absolutely. I literally was one of the founders of the PR department at eMarketer back in the early 2000s. For now, AI shopping experiences are growing. Last month, OpenAI said it's experimenting with new shopping features, including a way to see images and prices of several products along with links for people to buy the items. Perplexity, which introduced a new feature last year that allows subscribers to buy items through its chatbot, also teamed up with Visa to help improve its shopping experience in the future. I wonder what MasterCard is up to. Visa knows a lot about its customers. Of course they do. And if customers opt in, there can be that anonymized data sharing so that the recommendations you get in Perplexity are in line with your kind of purchase and transaction history so you can get better quality answers, said Dmitry Shevlenko, Perplexity's chief business officer. Even the LA Times partners with Perplexity to generate summaries of ideas expressed in opinion pieces. This stuff is everywhere. So these efforts are still early, but AI companies are also trying to differentiate themselves from rivals such as Amazon and Google. Kind of an irony since Google has Gemini, and they're also heavily invested in AI since people aren't going to look for those blue links as much as they used to on Google search. So, they also have chatbots and AI shopping features. So both Perplexity and OpenAI note the products shown within their chatbots are not ads. That's what they're claiming. The chatbot websites that review and rate mattresses, coffee makers, and other products. Okay. Google also is stepping up its AI shopping features as it competes with OpenAI. Last week, the search giant said, in the coming months, people will be able to use AI mode, a tool where people can ask questions and get answers like they would to a chatbot to find and compare products. Interesting. The tool is powered by Google's AI model, Gemini. So, Vidya Srinivasan, apologies for my sort of butchering that name, who leads the ads and commerce teams at Google, said Monday in a press briefing before Google's annual I/O Developers Conference that the company displays, search results in AI mode based on what's most relevant to questions people are asking. Okay, what else? So some of the results also highlighted reviews from websites, but Google has more than 50 billion product listings, and that information gets refreshed. So he says, and I quote, we're doing even more personalization in this mode, where we get to personalize based on brands and styles. That's very interesting. So the Mountain View-based company is exploring and experimenting with ads in their AI shopping experiences. Of course they are. That's how they make their money. Give you a service for free, and once they get hundreds of millions of people using it, they then show you ads. That's been Google since day one. Google would bring ads to a dinner party if they could. So Google unveiled other AI shopping tools, including a way to try out clothes virtually and buy products when the price falls. Cool. Okay. So, Visa. Their executives say they envision a future in which AI agents will book plane tickets, hotel rooms, and other services and products on behalf of the customer with their approval. I hope so. It sucked to see a charge for a plane ticket when you planned not to go anywhere, or a Four Seasons hotel room reservation when you couldn't travel. So Rajat Taneja, or it could be Taneja, I'm not sure. Taneja, president of technology for Visa, said that people will be able to set limits around what an AI agent could purchase, like when someone hands over their credit card to a friend, family member, or assistant to help them shop. Sure. The San Francisco-based payment company, partnering with such AI companies as OpenAI, Perplexity, and Anthropic, unveiled a new initiative in late April to enable AI agents to shop and buy products of people, but that work is still being tested. Product recommendations, he said, will only get more personalized in the future. It sort of throws me back to when they said, digital advertising will be more personalized than TV advertising or traditional advertising. But then came the data privacy issues, right? There are going to be different ways in which this will manifest itself, much like the analogy of the internet has evolved in so many different ways, he said. The most important thing is we are all unique in our likes, in our dislikes, in what we gravitate towards and what we buy. Yeah, there's a spin we used to use in PR back in the day in advertising when people said, why are you guys collecting so much information? Why is this cookie following me around the internet? Why is it that when I clicked on, a pair of pants or something on a Macy's website, these pants are now stalking me on every, website I go to, which we called retargeting, which was cool technology at the time. And the spin we used to put on it from the PR perspective is to explain to reporters and government officials who were concerned about online ad targeting that when the right ad reaches the right person at the right time, it ceases to be an ad. It's information. So that was a spin we used to say, hey, we're collecting this data because we don't want to show you irrelevant stuff. How much of that was true? Yeah, it's left to be decided. Anyway, so, consumers are already using generative AI for shopping, right? Research shows that, Adobe Analytics, which surveyed 5,000 U.S. consumers, said that 39% reported using generative AI for online shopping, and 53% plan to do so this year. So shoppers use generative AI for research, product recommendations, deals, and other shopping tasks, according to the survey. Capgemini Research Institute, a huge name in the business, they surveyed 12,000 adult consumers across 12 countries, and they found that 24% of consumers use generative AI in shopping experiences. The use was higher among Gen Z and millennials compared to Gen X and boomers. But the survey also found that consumer satisfaction with generative AI also fell. Okay, so Elliot Padfield, a 21-year-old growth marketing consultant in San Francisco, he uses AI for other tasks, but he says the shopping experience has fallen short. As a result, he doesn't always trust the chatbot's recommendations. I don't always either. When he tried out shopping on Perplexity for the first time, his order never arrived, but he was able to get a refund. Whoopie-doo. And while chatbots can provide a comparison of 4 types of wireless headphones, for example, he wants more information about how the recommendations fit his needs and priorities. I suggest he subscribes to Flossie Carter on YouTube. He's one of the best reviewers out there. In fact, I usually don't buy electronics till he tells me that it's a major, major, major go. That's how he puts it. A triple major go by Flossie Carter is usually a good product. He hasn't paid me to say that. I've just been a long subscriber and follower of his channel. I still have to guide the AI through supporting me in the way that I need it to, he said. I actually find it easier at that point to then just go to the retailer, right? Okay. So from going to the mall to shopping on websites or through social media, retail experts see generative AI as just another option for consumers. I would never buy sunglasses online, for example. I've got to go walk into the Oakley store and actually put them on. I have a rather large size head. I would never buy a Yankee cap online. I'd have to go to the store and actually try it on. Retailers will have to learn how to navigate chatbots that might not recommend their products, right? There's bias. With all things technology, there's always bias. But AI could also level the playing field for small businesses, experts say, if the results aren't based on optimizing for a search engine or buying a ton of ads. Slight segue here. When iRobot first came out with the Roomba, the robot vacuum, I noticed that when I was standing in a room, the Roomba would actually come to my feet and try to sweep it. I'm guessing because as a black person, the sensors saw it as dirt in the distance. I've tried it with my other friends who are Caucasian. Never happened. So there was something built into that technology where it's seeing dark things in the distance as dirt. It's very interesting. Just wanted to note that sometimes, inadvertently, racism is built into technology products, which makes sense that, the AI can do the same thing. So, if a retailer will have to learn how to navigate chatbots that might not recommend their products, right, but they're also using it to try to level the playing field, the results aren't based on optimizing for a search engine or buying a ton of ads. So Caroline Reppert, Director of AI and Technology Policy at the National Retail Foundation, NRF, she said she thinks generative AI is here to stay. Ultimately, retailers will meet consumers where they are, she said. So the trend is kind of still emerging, and we'll see if it ends up being an enduring one, Reppert said. Very interesting stuff going on with AI nowadays, in terms of how people are using it, how it's affecting search, which was sort of the dominant discovery channel for a couple decades, if not more. And just seeing how people are sort of utilizing it to get the answers that they're looking for is something that needs to be followed. That's very fascinating. There's an analyst I follow online, and she's given many examples of how she's used AI for shopping. When you sort of examine how she's using it, you'll start to realize that even the older crowd they're leaning into this technology, and they're trying to see how it can best serve them. At the other end are content creators who are suffering because, you've created this great website about cooking East Asian food, for example. And in the past, somebody comes in and they search for East Indian food, and maybe you've really optimized your website, your blog posts, your newsletter, etc., etc. And the person searching for such cuisine would possibly find your website through one of the blue links that Google search would provide. Now with AI, what's happening is the whether it's ChatGPT or something else might just give you the recipe directly or bypass the website and give you the information you're looking for. So you actually never land on that publisher's or content creator's website. And without going to their website, they don't get the eyeballs, they don't get the traffic, and they don't get the credit. So that's sort of a big issue in terms of bridging generations through AI. A very well-known analyst that I know in the industry, Deborah Aho Williamson, talks about bridging generations through AI and using film as a moment she'll never forget. A few days ago, she said, I got to show my parents some of the AI-generated films that won awards at the Seattle AI Film Festival, where she served as an advisor and judge. She said it was so amazing to share these cutting-edge creations with two people who've embraced technology ahead of their time. She said, my mom, despite being retired for years, actively used LinkedIn. She was an early user of Facebook, which she joined when I first began researching social media. My dad has become a Siri enthusiast and is increasingly exploring ChatGPT. If only we could get the sign-in process for ChatGPT to work correctly on his phone, she said with a sigh. So there's something profoundly moving about watching her parents, she said, who introduced her into the world, now experiencing a world you're helping to shape. Their genuine curiosity and willingness to engage with emerging technologies confirms to her that innovation can bridge generations rather than dividing them. Having to introduce generative AI to your older family members is an interesting topic. Please leave a comment if you have. I'd like to hear how they've either shunned it or maybe embraced it. This sort of new world that we're in. It'd be very interesting to see how the boomers and older generations are really handling this. So make sure you leave a comment so we can discuss that. It'll be very interesting to find out. So this whole AI thing is becoming ubiquitous. It's spread to billions of mobile devices within practically a year. And we're all interested to see where it goes. So we'll keep an eye on it and keep sharing stories about how people are using it to fulfill their sort of everyday tasks that, they go about that they didn't use this for before. So it's very interesting to see the different use cases as people begin to integrate it into their everyday lives, as opposed to shunning it. Another example I'll give is, I spoke with somebody recently who said she bought a facial moisturizer that was recommended by ChatGPT, not Google. So there's shifts in consumer behavior that are happening right before our eyes. Consumers are adding AI platforms and social search for product discovery. Both deliver personalized recommendations in seconds. The conversation feels more natural than scrolling through search results. Right, so advertisers are now sort of trying to adapt to this new reality. AI platforms and social search providers will become important media channels. Right, traditional search advertising strategies won't translate directly, and early adopters will gain significant competitive advantage. Think Facebook when it first came, right, following MySpace. Think Google when it first came. But the transparency debate is just beginning. How will sponsored content be disclosed within AI conversations and social search results? Will users know when recommendations are influenced by advertisers? So trust will become the ultimate currency in future purchases. Same thing happened with online advertising that I discussed earlier. But even so, we shouldn't forget about, existing search tactics, and boring things, quote unquote, boring things like SEO and website design still matter to AI platforms a lot. So things like, these are going on. We have to keep an eye on it and see how things continue to develop. Research is very important in this space to figure out, are people using ChatGPT for search over Google? Right? That's an interesting topic to follow, to see who actually prefers Google over ChatGPT and how that changes over time. Right? There's a period of time for product and technology adaptation, not only in the US, but globally as well. So we're going to continue to watch this space to see how things develop. But yeah, leave a comment. We would like to see what you think, to see how you're using all things AI. Are you embracing it? Are you worried that it's sort of going to take over? And that we should be very careful and shun it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd appreciate it. So that brings us to the end of this episode. As always, head over to buymeacoffee.com/Samson King to support the channel. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time.